this to the right. Now watch this turn. Indicator left, down the slope. What a shot. What a shot. Is it? Oh, would you believe that? Rory McIlroy. What a round of golf. It's one outside the Augusta course record. Than I anticipated. Oh man, what a shot! I'd say that's pretty good. Whoa!
Good evening, listeners and viewers. Welcome back to the Putting for Dough show, talking all things golf DFS, specifically this week, heading over to the Valspar. I am joined by Mr. Mark Ferguson and the born ready Mr. Jack Humphrey. Fellas, how are you both doing? Apologies that I missed last week. I guess I have to do pay my dues this week and do the hosting duties. But you've both done me a favour because I've been absolutely up the wall. So your research will absolutely come in handy. But maybe I don't need the research because once again I took home the win in the pod league. So what can I say?
Well, you know, we know what happens when you don't show up, Nick. You know, you go and win. we know what your game is. I'm surprised to see you here this week, to be honest.
I was this close to just phoning it in, just like, do you know what? I'm going to miss again this week. Am I right in saying it's the Corrales next week?
It is.
Yeah, just an FYI for listeners, we won't be covering the Corrales. A, because it is a dumpster fire, and B, we don't even know which golfers are going to be in the field as things stand. So we're not going to be covering it. We're going to have
the newsletter. The newsletter will be out, but with some bits and pieces in it. But yeah, we won't be doing a show.
Yeah, no show, but we'll get some content out there. We'll get some thoughts out on there on the Substack sphere. And on the Twitter machine, as you refer to it, Jack. Mark, sitting quietly there. How are you doing this week?
Yeah, not bad. This is the first week I've not been in the lead of the Pod Show League since week 2, because you've taken it now, Nick, from us.
Who'd have thought?
I was actually who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And was that a Paul Rudd meme? Not me, not us. I thought I was pretty down on myself, but then when I looked at it, actually, if John Rahm hadn't withdrawn, I probably would have doubled up all my money. So, in cash, I think Jack similar state. So, again, even though it seemed like a really down week, in actual fact, all the information we gave out last week, newsletter and everything, was all pretty much spot on again. So it's all you can do, really, isn't it? With something, it's all you can hope for.
Yeah, I think if you had John Rahm last week, you just got unlucky. Rory doesn't seem like he's at the races at the moment compared to how he was golfing last year. I faded both and just went straight to Scheffler, which massively paid off. I actually won the Listener League contest as well last week. So we will roll over the 8-bit tea time NFT once again, though I could have claimed it myself. I'd rather a listener win it, but you listeners need to pull your socks up and actually win the league because we just keep winning it at the moment. By we, I mean me and Jack. You're not winning it so much, Mark. Well, there's time. There's time.
I keep forgetting to enter it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't even enter our own league, did I, like 2 weeks ago? So
That is true, yeah. And by some kind of technicality, you actually ended up still counting towards the points that week. I think Jack just
you're
completely
too kind. Yeah.
We allowed it.
What was that?
We allowed him.
Yeah.
To,
Everyone's allowed one little mishap.
he's old.
That is true. Yes.
But
Add your 2 pages together, then times by 3, and then
thoughts on the players, because I know that you were quite outspoken on Twitter this past week that you weren't really enjoying the event. Talk to us.
I haven't enjoyed the players since they moved it to this start date. To be honest, I actually used to love it when it was held in May. I don't know what it is. I don't like the event anymore. I think that golf course is pathetic as well. If I'm brutally honest, I've kind of said it before about 17. I'm not a fan of 17 as a whole. I just think it's it's not a proper golf hole. There's nothing. Someone outspoken. It's not a proper golf hole. I'm just not a fan of it. And the course in general. The only hole I like on that golf course is the 18th, because that to me is a proper golf hole. I don't particularly like when there's water literally on every hole, which there was. The 17 of the holes have water on. I don't enjoy it. People might come up to me, "Oh, you've just had a bad week." Yeah, I did have a bad week. I went 100% Rahm, and I had Rory as well in my cash lineup. So yeah, thanks a lot, Rory. The Rahm thing is just unfortunate. He was sitting at 1 under, and I'm sure he would have probably contended, to be fair, with Scheffler down the stretch there on Sunday. He would have definitely made the cut anyway. Like Mark mentioned, the newsletter. I had Rahm as a core play for myself. That's just an unfortunate thing, the withdrawal. But the other two made the cut. Justin Thomas was awful, although looking deeper into his stats, from tee to the green, he was absolutely amazing. His ball striking was amazing. Just couldn't putt.
Oh,
and then
did you see the video? There was a Will Zalatoris like slow motion of his putting stroke, and it's horrible.
yeah.
Something not right with Justin Thomas's putting.
No, he's Justin Thomas with, I don't know, there's something severely wrong. Sorry, with his putting. I had Hickok as the other one of the core, and I'm quite proud of that one, because that was bottom of the barrel, 6K bottom of the barrel. Sorry,
you just made names now, Jack.
That's his correct name, Hickok, Kramer Hickok, or Highcock, or if
not on this show, it's not.
Well, at 6K, I'm quite proud of that one. He made the cut, and he actually had a good weekend. I think he finished about 3 or 4 under for the tournament, which is pretty good. But yeah, in regards to the tournament, I don't enjoy it. I don't like that golf course, and that's it. It's just, I've not been able to crack it. Each and every year I try and crack it, but you get random players turning up there that have been totally out of form, like Chad Ramey had a good. I mean, the guy's like missed multiple cuts and turns up there, starts playing well. Just a weird tournament. And I say the golf course for me is just, it's not a proper. It's a novelty golf course. I hate it. So there you go.
One thing I didn't mind it as much. I know what you're saying with the 17th. I feel like it is bigged up as like and it is a recognizable, very, very recognizable par 3 because of its layout and design. But in terms of a par 3, it's 130 yards, is it, to the middle of the green or to the pin? That's not like, that's just your bog standard club golfer kind of par 3 distance, and in fact I'd class that as probably a short par 3. I I know what you mean. It's a bit gimmicky in how it's been designed. One thing I did enjoy the past week is seeing the emergence once more of Minwoo Lee. I'm a big Minwoo Lee fan and believer. And it was great to see him up there on the leaderboard on the PGA Tour. I hope we see him a lot more going forward.
Yeah, I actually, going back to Minwoo Lee, I saw a video of Minwoo Lee, and he was saying about how he went to a Tiger school when he was younger and learned how to do them stinger shots. And watching him do them stinger shots, I mean, that's great. That's one of my favourite shots in golf, like of watching someone hit them. And that's why I love Tiger, because Tiger was the master of them. But yeah, that stuff like that's great to see. Someone like Minwoo Lee, he's very talented, and I'm sure he's going to be a star on the PGA Tour for a long time to come.
Definitely. I thought it was funny. I think someone had said I'd like golf as some of the best athletes. And he posted a video of himself teeing off and then basically complaining that he had cramp after his tee shot. And he like tweeted it and basically just said, "No, I'm not an athlete." But for me, course aside, it was a nice, profitable week. Could have been more so had Corey Connors actually made the cut and turned up. He
was awful.
I think he missed out by one shot in the end, but it was over and done with after day one for him, pretty much. Mark, your past week, profitable, non-profitable?
No, it was just all to do with John Rahm withdrawing. If he hadn't withdrawn, I would have made a profit. As he did, I didn't. I think it's Corey Connors thing is so it's like it doesn't matter how you looked at it. He was in good form. It doesn't matter how you looked at it. And it's like the opposite of what you were saying about other people turning up, like Kirk Kitayama the week before that with the sort of as I said to you in the group, I've looked at all the stats and again, there's no way you could predict he could have won that tournament the week before last. And I just feel it was one of those weird a little bit. I really do. Corey Connors was my main big fail as well. Like Jack, I had 100% Rahm and Rory as well in all my GPP lineups. So tricky week, but we come this week. I'm quite happy to have a weaker field.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad to see you doing well in the double ups as well, Nick.
Oh, I am loving them double ups. I don't know why I've not gone to them sooner, because they are just returning for me. I am absolutely loving. Even after the first day, I was nowhere near the cash after day one, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm not concerned. I just need to see who gets through the cut line. When I saw 5 out of 6, I was like, don't even really need to check now. That's coming in.
Yeah.
That's cash. So
yeah.
The round withdrawal as well. Is that our golf version of Solly March not getting the points for the golf? Because we were everyone's expecting him to get them, but he just didn't. Everyone's expecting Ram to do well, score the points, and he just didn't.
Dear.
There wasn't a betting mob though about Ram withdrawing. That's the difference. Nobody tweeted seriously accounts because of it.
In the words of Jose Mourinho, Nick, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. So.
David, I did just go there. I'll go in there. I've been there before, and I'll go back there.
Yeah, it was in this week, wasn't it? Just to say that, like the other reason.
Oh man. A bit of housekeeping, and I guess we move on to the slightly weaker field this week at the Valspar. So, if you've not already, sign up to the newsletter on Substack. Newsletter's gone out today, Jack, so that should be in everyone's inboxes now.
Yes, that's already out, and in people's inboxes.
Free of charge. It's got Jack's core, it's got Mark's cup makers on there, it's got your bets for the week. That is one area where I've not really been cashing as of late, but I've been so close. I've had people in the places, but the past couple of events, I've just been doing everyone to win. To be fair,
I had that last week with Victor and Hideki. What a charge he made on the last half! It was going to win at one point, Hideki.
I had it with Hatton, and I was like, well, I could do him each way, but then, what was he, 35-1, maybe 33-1? I was like, is it worth an each way punt at that? Like,
I think it is. I think it's always worth doing each way. I always do mine each way. If they're anything below 15-1, then I just do them outright. But anything above that, I always do each way.
Yeah, I would have probably broke even the last couple of weeks had I have done that, but so yeah, that's the first thing, the newsletter. The second thing is mentioned it at the start. We've got the Corrales next week, which is an absolute shit show. If you've not done already, subscribe to Jack's tracker, because though there's not been a lot of commitments just yet, they will start flooding in, and that tracker will really help you over the coming weeks. And the majors are just around the corner as well, so it's definitely going to help you get some strong lineups together and know which golfers are going to be playing consecutive weeks. Again, it's helped a lot of us this year. I think this past week I kind of held position because I had a couple that didn't make the cut, but it's definitely been useful for me. So for the cost of $3.99 over the next few weeks, especially, will definitely help you. Hit Jack up on Twitter for that. Jack, the Valspar, give us your course rundown.
I will do. Just one more bit of housekeeping. Sorry, Nick. Next week is also the match play as well. So what I will do is open up a bracket challenge. Head over to the PFD show Twitter handle. The bracket challenges are they're not quite open yet. Obviously, they're waiting to see the commitments, and then they'll do the draw and things like that. But once it's all done and open, I will get us a bracket challenge open, and there'll be a little prize awaiting the winner at the end, unless it's one of us again. So we'll see, but there will be a little prize awaiting the winner. But yes, on to this week and the Valspar Championship, which is played in Tampa Bay in Florida. We're heading onto the Copperhead golf course here. It's a Larry Packard design in 1970. It's a par 71 and it's 7,209 yards long. Do have a bit of water again this week. Not as much as last week. Only comes into play on 8 of the holes here. It's Bermuda everywhere. I will mention that the rough has been grown up an extra inch this week compared to what it normally was. So I think this is going to be a bit more challenging this week. I think they've got sick of Sam Burns coming around here shooting 17 under. So they kind of want to get back to its historic winning score, of 13 under par. Cut mark historically is 1 over par. I could see that moving to probably about 3 or 4 potentially this week with this extra thickness of the rough. It's not a normal Florida style golf course. It's got lots of tree lined fairways around this place, lots of elevation changes again. The golf course itself offers a very easy start with a nice par 5 on the first hole that most of these guys will reach into and give themselves eagle and birdie chances. Actually plays as the easiest hole in the course. They'll be needed in that because there's a stretch of holes called the Snake Pit between 16 and 18, and they're 3 of the hardest holes on any golf course on the PGA Tour, featuring deep bunkers. There's a dogleg par 4, a par 3 with a deep green that features a lot of runoffs and like the front runoffs, and it'll reject any lousy tee shots onto it, basically. 74 bunkers around this place. So, yeah, there's trouble at every turn. And as I've mentioned, that rough is extra thick this week. Thick Bermuda rough. We know what the ball does in that. It either sits down or it sits up in it. So I think scrambling, for me, is going to be a very key stat to look at this week. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's up there for me this week. Approach massive as well. Mark, your key stats for the week?
Just before I get to that, just wanted to make a point when Jack was talking about the cut line and potentially going being even lower or higher, depending how you look at it. People get themselves a little bit worked up about their lineups on the fan team season long, and I would say we've got this week, we've got Valspar, Corollas next week, and then I've forgotten the one between there and the Masters.
The Valero Texas Open.
The Valero. So the Corollas and the Valero are the two highest scoring out of those four. So if you've got a lack of transfers, I would suggest you save transfers, maybe even play with less than 6 players this week, because the fantasy scoring is going to be a lot higher the next 2 weeks. And I know they're going to be absolute terrible events from a golfing point of view. If you're playing this season-long fantasy, you've got to be thinking about overall points. So just my public service announcements about that. It's quite a big, I think it's like they're the 6th and the 7th best scoring Corollas, Valero, and the Masters, and this one are like 14th to 15th, something like that. So, something to say. Anyway, back to what you really asked me about. I've approached for it like for everybody around the green, scrambling, driving accuracy, a little bit of putting on the 10-foot and long par threes. Quite a simple model, although my overall model is made up of that model and 2 others as well. So that's what's creating my rankings this week. And some of that information on those players is actually in the newsletter.
All the more reason to subscribe. Jack?
Indeed.
So I'm looking at strokes gained approach, and strokes gained approach and scrambling are my key stats this week. They're the 2 ones that I've got heavily weighted on. Others that I'm considering this week within my model are bogey avoidance, par 5 scoring, because I think that's where you're going to have to do the damage this week on the par 5s. I've got the proximity buckets of 100 to 125 and 125 to 150. Not as important, but I am taking a look at good drive percentage. I don't want players this week smashing drives into this thick rough or the trees, because it is a tree line golf course. Strokes gained total, that's just a key stat. It just pops on this golf course for some reason. Using Rick Run Good, looking at the stats that pop, and that's one of the ones that does. Strokes gained putting on Bermuda, and strokes gained around the green. Oh, and strokes gained putting within the 10-foot range that I always put into my models, and that's all set over the last 32 rounds. That's what I'm looking at as usual.
So I think what we're favouring here is some accuracy off the tee, strong approach, and a really good short game seems to be what gets it done round here. Yeah. So with that in mind, let's have a look at some of the golfers.
I will say as well, while you're getting that up, that there is a weather wave at the minute, and I would monitor it right up to lock. At present, to me, it looks like there's a PM AM advantage on Thursday and Friday, but I really would monitor it right up to lock, basically.
Yeah, good to know. Is that in the newsletter as well, Jack?
In the newsletter, it's all in the newsletter. This is why I mentioned it last week on the show remark. Someone questioned why do I bring it out on a Wednesday. This is why, because I try and give you the most accurate information as I can that I have there and then. But even then, you still need to monitor this right up to lock.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look at some of these golfers then. So you could argue, I think quite conclusively, really, that he is the best golfer in the field, but based on form at the moment, probably unjustly the most expensive golfer in the field. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns, former winner, and Matt Fitzpatrick are the 4 guys that round out the 10K range. I don't really fancy any of these 4 names at the top. I feel like they all come with an asterisk this week. Which is making me think we just get different and we fade the top guys. But I'm keen to hear what you guys think this week. Mark, first of all.
I think you've kind of stolen my thunder a little bit there. I think they're overpriced in comparison with lots of other players. If I had to pick one, it is Justin Thomas, and I'm kind of hoping the price would mean he was a lower owned, but. When you look at it from a stats view, there's nothing to inspire about any of these 4, particularly at that price. So, just exactly the same as you, Nick.
Dak, any advance?
Yeah, see, I'm fading this top range this week, which is unusual for me because I haven't done that a lot this season. But this week I am. I think Justin Thomas would be my go-to guy as well, just because I know Justin Thomas. I think he thrives in hard conditions. He's going out in the windier conditions. He is on the AM/PM side of the split this week, so he's going to get the harder conditions. We've seen it with him. The PGA Championship he won, he was on the bad weather wave there. He made it through the cut last year at the Players Championship on the bad side of the weather wave. There was one a couple of weeks ago where he was on the bad side of the weather wave and he went absolutely nuts on the Saturday, I think it was. I can't remember what competition it was, but he had a really good round on the Saturday. He would be the one that I go to. I was hoping that we'd get the ownership discount, but at the minute he's projected the highest owned out of the four here. I don't think you can play Sam Burns, although he did make the cut last week. He was sort of in contention at one point last week. And then he fell away to 35th there. So that I won't be playing Sam Burns, even though he's won this back-to-back years. Matthew Fitzpatrick, if you want one with the weather advantage at the top, Matthew Fitzpatrick has it. He goes out in the PM/AM. 5th here last year, which is good to see. 35th last week, was it? No, sorry, he missed the cut, didn't he, on the number last? He was 3 over, wasn't he, last week? Missed the cut at the Players. Before that, he had a good finish at the Arnold Palmer. And, I wouldn't class the Arnold Palmer as a comp course to this, but it's a tough golf course. The rough is thick, and he was 14th there, so you like to see that. Fitzpatrick's one of them players that sort of thrives in like hard golf courses. We know that. He's won a US Open, so we know he can get it done on these harder tracks. I'm just a little bit worried with him with the neck injury still. I kind of need to see a little bit more before I can go to him, I think. But I think it'd be Justin Thomas and Matthew Fitzpatrick from the top for me. I'm not playing Jordan Spieth. I never played Jordan Spieth. He just puts me on full tilt always. That annoyed the hell out of me last week. He hit that fan on the Friday off the tee, gets a lucky bounce back into the fairway, chips on, makes the birdie, makes the cut on the number, and then obviously makes the weekend. I mean, there needs to be a rule against that, where he's got the lucky bounce. No other golfer gets that. It infuriates me. It really infuriates me as a golfer.
Is this the fan who came out and said, well, I feel like I should have all these earnings from this tournament, basically, because without me being stood there, he wouldn't have been making any money?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it was. I mean, he's right. He wouldn't have been. There needs to be a rule against it. I don't know what the PGA Tour do, but if you're hitting fans and getting lucky bounces like that, when the ball is just going wayward, like miles left, which it was, there needs to be a rule against it. I'm sorry. There needs to be something that it needs to be like an enforced stroke penalty or something. I don't know what, but he wasn't going to make the cut, and he got the luckiest bounce ever. And he maybe it's just because they show him all the time that I see it, and you don't see these other golfers doing it, but every time I see him do it, and he just infuriates me. He'll probably win this week now, just to annoy the hell out of me.
I was going to say I'm fading these top four, but if I was to play someone, it probably would reluctantly be Jordan Spieth this week. Not because I like what I see from him. He's spraying it still off the tee, and he is making putts that he has no right to make and doesn't really look like he's going to make them, but they still fall for him. But the stats in terms of tee to green and his approach and his ball striking are all fair. And of the four, I would say he's the shot maker. He's the one out of these four that's got everything in the arsenal. So if I was to play one, reluctantly, it probably would be him. But I'm not going to play any of these guys. We'll move on into the 9K range instead. And there's absolutely zero complaints there. I think that's the quickest we've moved past the elite guys into the next range, which straight at the top we've got Tommy Fleetwood, the kind of the Neely man. Disappointing final round from him last week. He was right. He put himself right into contention with that third round. Fantastic. And the 1 week where I don't back Tommy Fleetwood each way, I don't know if he ended up coming in the places last week, but no, he didn't actually. He dropped off.
Yeah, he dropped the last round 76.
Quite a bit there. I thought he was still up there, but no, I've just had a look at his placing and he dropped off quite a bit. So I'm quite pleased at that. So we've got Tommy Fleetwood at 9.8, Justin Rose 9.6, Keegan Bradley has pulled out, Denny McCarthy 9.3, Adam Hadwin 9.2, Brian Harmon 9.1, Davis Riley at 9K. Jack, I'll come to you first. Give me a pick from this 9K range.
Well, if you've read the newsletter, the first of my core is here, which is Mr. Tommy Fleetwood. Look, we know what Tommy can do. We've seen him perform in Open Championships. He sort of thrives in these windy, hard conditions on golf courses like this. He was right in contention last week, as you mentioned, Nick, but then that last round of 76 sort of just derailed him completely, really, which was a shame. He's got decent course history. He was tied 16th last year. It's the only time he's played it. What I was impressed with last week was his approach play. He was dialed in with the approach. He's going to have to be dialed in again around here with the approach. But he also leads this field in strokes gained tee to green. And, that's kind of what I want. I just want someone that's hitting the ball well all round, really. And Tommy Fleetwood's my man. So, yeah, he's the first of my core play this week. I'm happy to go to him.
Yeah, no complaints from me there at all. He's my favourite in this range as well. Ticks all the boxes in terms of his approach play. One of the best ball strikers in the field. He feels kind of like he's on the brink as well. It feels like that win or that really good performance is kind of coming. He keeps kind of teasing it each week. I thought last week might have been the week where he pushed Scheffler close, but he dropped off in the end, unfortunately. Mark, the 9K range.
I got a lot. Justin Rose is in number 2 in my ranking. So I think he's a great player.
Jack, I don't know. Did you catch that, or has Mark turned into
I think Mark's got the dodgy internet this week.
Good sound. I'm trying some different sound. Noise cancelling sound. So it's not properly right now.
Yep, still got none of that.
Only come out.
Mark's on the Jack dial-up this week, it seems.
Oh, he's left. He's left the building.
Thank you and good night. Mic drop. Literally didn't get a word of that.
No one did. I thought it was my internet going again.
Oh, this is where the unprofessional side of the show comes in. Where the sounds just completely go, and the next thing you know, Mark is just the only bit I actually caught was him saying "I'm out," and then he just dropped off the screen. So it remains to be seen whether Mark will actually be returning. But until that time comes, let's talk about this 8K range then, because I'm with you, Jack. Tommy Fleetwood is my guy in this 9K range.
Yeah, I just a quick one. I do really like Adam Hadwin as well in that range. Hitting the ball really nicely at the minute. He's 13th last week, which is nice to see. Previous winner of this tournament. Going to be the chalk in that range. I mean, I've got him currently the highest owned within this range, this 9K range. So There's a few there that I like. I like Justin Rose as well. Justin Rose obviously won at Pebble, comes sixth last week at the Players Championship. That was nice to see. Playing really good golf at the minute. So yeah, there's a few within that range I like. I think Davis Riley's going to be popular, but probably going to avoid Davis Riley this week, to be honest.
Mark, you back?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me now.
It's a little bit better.
Seems somewhat better.
Okay, that's really weird. That's really weird.
It seems like I would say you're at an 85%, whereas previously you were at like a 4%.
Who was your favourite in that 9K range anyway?
Adam Hadwin.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I've
you just
already
have to read the
mentioned him for
newsletter. Yeah, you just have to read the newsletter. I'm like you though. I'm not touching Davis Riley. I know that.
That's what I said. I wasn't touching him. I'm off of Davis
No.
Riley.
I think other than Harman and Riley, I could play anybody in this range really.
Yeah, definitely. I think Harman's probably a large tournament play, potentially.
Yeah, I don't really like. I don't mind Denny McCarthy either. To be fair, he's put some good results together recently.
He is awful on approach, though.
I know he is. I'm just having a look.
Oh, sorry. I thought you was...
No.
He's bad on approach. He just gets it all done with the putter, but we know that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It pulls him out the mire. When you look at his actual, when you look at the tournaments he's done well in recently at Pebble, didn't gain a massive amount of strokes other than with putting and short game. Came tied fourth, missed the cut at Phoenix, but his putting was off, his short game was off. Everything else, he lost strokes everywhere, if we're being honest. Genesis, tied 14th. Again, putting and short game was on point. Everything else, mediocre or lost strokes. Honda misses the cut. Again, loses strokes on putting. And then at the Players, he was tied 13th. Gained strokes, putting, short game. And tee to green as well. So there's a bit of a correlation there that when he's putting and short game is on, he normally has a good finish. When it's not, he doesn't really have it elsewhere in his game to pick him up, basically. So, yeah, I guess I like him for what we know he's good at, which is his putting, and he's obviously good around the greens. But if it's one of them weeks where he's poor in that area for whatever reason, then he's probably going to miss the cut here. We'll move on to the 8K range. So to kick us off in the 8Ks, we've got Justin Suh, Wyndham Clark, Maverick McNeely, Gary Woodland, Brandon Wu, Ben Griffin. Great story, Ben Griffin. Taylor Moore, JT Poston, and KH Lee in the 8K range. Mark, I'll come to you first, just in case your sound packs in again. Hopefully we get a pick from you this time.
Well, so I do a joint pick, shall I, Jack?
You might as well.
Yeah, we both went for Wyndham Clark in the newsletter this week. We don't discuss it beforehand. He's in my overall model. Whenever he's and he's gaining strokes against the field at a ridiculous rate at the moment. 5% round in the last 32. So hasn't missed a cut for a long time. Yeah, not much not to like.
I can go a bit further on it. So in the last 12 rounds played on the PGA Tour, he ranks 8th in bogey avoidance, 8th in strokes gained on approach, and 8th in strokes gained tee to green. That is the perfect recipe for around this golf course. Windy Clark, get him in your lineups this week.
Yeah, like it. As I mentioned, Ben Griffin's a really good story. He has been very strong as of late around the greens. Gains a lot of stroke over his last 3 events on his short game. Tee to green reasonable as well. So I don't mind him. Is there anyone else in this 8K range, Jack, that you like?
I don't know if I like. I think this would be a tournament play, which would be Gary Woodland. Did you see the stat on him last week?
No.
So Gary Woodland last week led the field in strokes gained tee to green. He like gained 7 strokes to the field basically from tee to green, and he lost 7 strokes putting. Gary Woodland's won this event before a long time ago, 2011 when he won it. But yeah, I'll go to him. I've had a bet on Brandon Wu this week, but I'm a little bit worried about him because he done all of his damage with the putter last week. Brandon Wu, Justin Sir is just a consistent cut maker. I think he's going to come in at really high ownership, so he's probably more of a cash play. But yeah, I certainly like Justin Sir as well this week in this range. It's a nice range. You do a lot in this range. You've got KH Lee as well in there, missed the cut last week, but we know KH Lee can get it done in with the scoring and things like that. So yeah, it's a nice range. There's lots to like in this 8K range this week. I do like Ben Griffin as well, like you say, Nick. The ownership I thought would be higher than that. It's not.
Yeah, I thought the ownership would be a little bit higher than that. Gary Woodland, his strokes game putting is absolutely dreadful.
Yeah,
dating back really to the Masters last year, he's only gained strokes putting in about 5 events. And where he loses strokes put, I'm not talking like 1 or 2 strokes, it's 5, 6, 7 strokes.
Yeah, there were 7 strokes last week.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm avoiding. I am avoiding.
Oh, it's a tournament play, and that's it. I would not play him anywhere else.
Absolutely. 7K range is quite a big range. There's a lot of names in there. Mark, throw out your name for me, first of all.
I just trying to just replicate the newsletter. Eric Cole is my number 1 this week. He's been remarkably. Sorry,
I was going to say rocked up at the Honda with a second, didn't he? Was really impressive and made the cut of the players last week as well.
Yeah, and he's just been consistent for that price. If you look at some of the around him, the consistency is fantastic. Gaining strokes against the field, 71% of his round, last 32 as well. It's a very interesting range though. There's a lot on here which lots of people have heard before at this price, which you'd expect in the 6s. Actually, funnily enough, I think I prefer the 6s to the 7s, generally speaking.
Yeah. Jack, the 7s?
Yeah, there's a few actually I like. I kind of disagree with Mark on that one. I prefer this range to the 6K range, to be honest, this week.
I like an underdog.
It's nice when I disagree with Mark. It's good. I like it. So yeah, who was my favourite here? I've just having a look at some stats here. Ryan Gerard. I mean, he near enough. He's second in this field on strokes gained approach over the last 32 rounds, which is just absolutely insane. He had that 4th at the Honda, so that was nice to see. I mean, there's so I'll just reel them off name by name. But Bartier, is it? He's getting a lot of love at the minute. Yeah, he's getting a lot of love at the minute. Very good on strokes gained approach. The only worry with him, he loses strokes around the green. I've had a bet on Garrick Higo this week. South Africans tend to do really well at this golf course, so I quite like him this week. He's kind of sort of put last year behind him, where he was in bad form last year. This year's sort of he's making cuts and then missing one, making the next one, etc. So I don't mind him going to play him. We know he can win. He's won on the PGA Tour before. I like Vegas. Always like Vegas. Very good from strokes gained tee to green. Jaeger bombs, decent. Stephen Jaeger, that is. Sorry, decent birdie maker. Makes a lot of birdies. Just made the last 3 cuts as well. He's always there or thereabouts, sort of in the mid-30s, 40 range that he ends up finishing, so he's not going to kill your lineups. Victor Perez, you're not going to see a lot of stats from him unless you're using Rick Run Good like us. So you get all the European stats, and he's just been absolutely on a tear up on the European tour, on the DP World Tour. Sorry. So yeah, I do like Victor Perez, coming in quite highly owned though at the minute, which is potentially a little bit of a worry. But yeah, I mean, there's some of the guys that I like within the range. I actually quite like Luke Bliss this week, which is scary. Mark's shaking his head. So is Nick. Everyone's shaking their head at me. Very good from tee to green. We know where Luke Bliss will lose strokes, and that's with the putter, unfortunately. But that's probably a tournament play, Luke Bliss, for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jack, I'm really surprised you're not playing the Spaceman.
I was just going to say the Spaceman is back again this week.
He's been awful. He has literally missed the last 3 cuts.
Yeah, he's.
And I do not. This Spaceman stuff, I haven't got a clue what you're on about.
You're going to keep saying it whilst you keep responding like.
Well, I have not got a clue what you're on about. So
clearly, just warming up the vocal cords for the Eurovision, Mark. That's maybe why he's a bit off at the moment.
So it's your
road trip to Liverpool. Road trip to Liverpool, guys.
Is that where £45,000 this year? Is it
£45,000 for a suite?
Oh my God. We'll touch on the 6K range then. Let's have a look if there's any diamonds in the rough down here. Jack, I'm coming to you first because I know Mark likes this range, so I don't want lots because I want to save some of the scraps for Mark as well.
I'll give you my favourite, which is my last of my core. It's Dylan Wu. Made his last 3 cuts. Had a top 10 at Honda there. Sort of mid-30 range finishes other than that. But down at this range, that's kind of all you need, really. You just need him to make the cut and sort of put up a respectable finish. Gaining strokes across the board, really. Losing a few with the putter. We know what putters are like. They can get hot or cold. Hopefully he has a hot week with a putter. The ownership's actually fairly high down in this range, which I wasn't really expecting that. But he's the third of my core makers this week. So yeah, I'm quite happy to chuck he's probably my favourite in the range down here at the minute.
Mark, you said that you really like this range.
Yeah, I might have over-egged that now. But anyway, Dylan Wu. I do like Dylan Wu. It's like I said Jack earlier. In my favourite play down here, I hope I get this right. Trevor Werbylo. 6-1. He's made his last 5 cuts on the PGA Tour as well, not on anywhere else. PGA. He's 6-1, so that's pretty impressive.
Wow.
Yes. What a find!
That is some name.
I know, and what a find that is at 6-1, eh? There's a couple of other players who've made their last 4 cuts as well. Augusto Nunes, Tano Goya, or Tano Goya. Yeah, so I think if you want to play that GPP, the thing is, say you played Trevor Werbylo, where are you going to spend the money on? Because you're not spending on the tour, are you? So, yeah, I think that's the thing here. But I think there's some good options down there.
Yeah. There's another golfer in this range who is a Corn Ferry Tour golfer. Where is he? Van der Laan, I think his name. There he is. There isn't a massive amount of stats that we've got on him, but he's been reasonably consistent of late on the Corn Ferry Tour, tied 7th at the Puerto Rico Open on the PGA Tour as well. But yeah, he's had some reasonable finishes of late. Yeah, I mean, it's slim pickings down here. I don't think you necessarily need to go this low this week. I think you can make a really solid lineup by dipping into this 7K range and venturing up to the 8Ks as well. If you want, especially if you're going to fade those guys at the top, I think you can pretty much build whatever lineup you want this week, which I guess we better start doing. So I think unanimously we all like Tommy Fleetwood.
Yep.
So let's throw in Tommy Fleetwood first of all. I think you were both in agreement on who was it in the 8K range?
Windy C.
Windy.
Clark, yeah.
We all like Ben Griffin as well. He's actually in the newsletter as well.
Yeah.
Of course. So
Chuck Ben Griffin in.
Throw in Ben Griffin. I guess we come down to the sevens maybe.
Well, you've chucked Dylan Wu in, and then that's my core then.
Dylan Wu at 6'8".
And what does that leave you?
Gets us back up.
8-1.
We're on the rise.
What does that leave you with?
8-1.
8-1. Cool. I mean, Benny Ann's always a risk. I don't mind Benny Ann, but he's always a risk, isn't he? I do like Jaeger Bombs, good birdie maker.
To be fair, you could go Hadwin, which leaves 7, which it's not a great range that it leaves you with. That, to be fair, let's take Hadwin out.
What about Sir Justin Sir at 8-9?
Justin Sir at 8-9 gets us back down to about 7-3, if my maths is right. Yeah. Which takes us to Eric Cole.
Yeah,
right.
Eric Cole. Eric Cole.
Yeah, one of these two. I think they were both golfers that were mentioned.
Yeah. Quite like that, Laura.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty good balance. That it's got 4 guys in that are 8K plus. I like that.
Should we do a JT one?
Why not? If you're not going to fade JT, let's have a look what we can put together. JT.
Well, why don't you just try and do JT and Spieth and then see what it does? Because I've not seen anyone try this yet, so I want to see.
Oh,
Right.
This is asking for Werbelow now, isn't it?
Yeah, so stick Mark's boy and Werbelow.
Should we throw in Dylan Wu as well while we're down here?
Yeah, definitely.
Dylan Wu and Werbelow. And what does that leave you with?
7-8.
7-8.
You go.
Wow.
Look at that.
So you could, again, stick in Justin Sir if you really wanted to. I don't know what that would take. No. What if you stuck Wyndham Clark in? What, the 7-8?
Wyndham Clark takes you
I'd be
back down.
6-8.
Yeah, I don't really want 3-6 guys. I think that's
So you're dipping into this 7K range then.
Ben
So
Griffin.
Ben Griffin at 8-4 leaves 7-2. So
Do
we're
that
back.
one.
We're at Luke List.
Oh no.
My God.
I think I'd prefer to. Do we want to go back to Highcock or?
Ben Taylor, I don't mind at this range.
Yeah, I don't mind Ben Taylor. Yeah, you could do that. I don't mind that. That's not a bad lineup, but I don't mind that at all. I just wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to have 3-6K guys.
Which is fair. In fairness, that is fair. I don't think you really need to build anything different to that. I think we've shown there that if you're going to build something that's top heavy, that's kind of what you'll be putting together.
Yep.
If you want to build a balance, which is my preferred lineup of the two, and just completely avoid the guys at the top, that first lineup I think was really, really good, really strong. I like it for this tournament. I think you're one way or the other this week. I don't think there's any need to necessarily build anything else beyond that, which rounds us off nicely at 54 minutes. Apologies for the issues with sound. There will come a week where we'll all be absolutely all singing, all dancing, and there won't be any drop-offs. There'll be no one turning into a pixel. It'll be absolutely perfect. But if nothing more, it was a laugh. Mark, where can the listeners find you?
At _SMRF.
And Jack?
You can find me on the Twitter at Jack Humphrey DFS.
You can also find me on the Twitter as well at Nick of Wigan. And you can find the actual show at PFD Show on Twitter. Join us again. Oh, not next week. Oh, that means I can't say my line. Oh, man.
Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks for the Valero Texas Open, and then we'll be 1 week away from the Masters.
Yeah. So, as always, drivers for show, puts for dough, and we will see you a week on Tuesday.
Au revoir.